Hi, welcome to the Butler Did It Show. I'm your host, Todd Butler, and yes, I did it. Let me tell you what I did. First, I went down south for a little butter poached shrimp with some goat cheese grits. Then I went way south down to Central America for some Ashiote marinated pork tenderloin. After that, I hopped on a flight over to Europe for some French-Italian fusion with some Grand Marnier berries and some Mimosa Savaillon. Let's get started with the first course, shall we? All right, let's start with the first course. What I have here is butter poached shrimp over goat cheese grits and a little tomato relish. Let's get started with our butter poaching liquid. I'm gonna turn the induction on here. And we're gonna turn this on to about a medium high, just to kind of melt the butter. You don't want to get the butter burnt too bad. You want it to kind of melt and slowly cook the shrimp, and that'll give you nice and tender shrimp. Today we're using U10 shrimp. Those are one of the larger size shrimps you can get, just because I love shrimp, so we might as well go with the bigger ones. We're gonna start with a pound of butter, and we're gonna take 8 cloves of garlic. And all these recipes are very simple. All you gotta do is, you can do them all at home, find all the ingredients at your local grocery store. And for the garlic, we don't need to chop it fine. We just wanna get the flavors out of it and just go ahead and rough chop it up. We're gonna throw this in with our butter as it's melting. Next, we're gonna add some basil. And again, we're just using it for the flavor, so you don't have to actually cut it any specific way. Just kind of chop it up a little rough chop, just to get the flavors out. You can even throw the stems and all in there. That'll give you a little more flavor. All right. While we're waiting on that to melt, we'll go ahead and start our goat cheese grits. And we're gonna start with a cup of water. And typically grits, you'll do a 4-to-1 ratio. I'm doing a little bit less to make the grits just a little bit thicker. And this we can turn to a high, just to bring it to a boil, then we'll bring it down to a nice little simmer. I got 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. Check on our butter, coming along, almost melted. We're gonna let the water and heavy cream come to a boil. And while we're doing that, we're gonna take our shrimp and show you how we peel and devein it. I like to leave the tail on because it gives it a little bit of texture. Just something to grab onto, and it gives a little show for the plate. All right. And when we do it, we're just gonna cut it right down the back. Gonna peel out and take that vein right on out of there. I've got a couple here that we've got to peel just to show you, but I've already peeled and deveined the rest of them. For this recipe, we'll use 8, but I'm gonna cook the rest of them off just because I have them here. You can cook as many as you want in this butter, as long as whatever will fit inside the butter. Here we go, and just kind of split it right down the back, and you'll see that vein right inside there. Just want to peel that right on out there. Alrighty. Alright, once you get this comes to boil, we got this butter is almost there. We're gonna throw just a little salt and pepper to taste inside of your butter mixture. The grits are about ready to come to a boil here. We're gonna take 1/2 cup of grits, and once that boils, we will go ahead and cook that for just a few minutes. Usually grits will take about 4 or 5 minutes to cook, just to your desired texture. All right, now that we're boiling, we're gonna go ahead and dump our grits in there. Give them a little bit of a stir. And then turn the heat down to about a medium high. Just want that to slowly simmer. All right, we've got our goat cheese, we've got some Parmesan cheese. We use 1/2 cup of goat cheese, 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And next we will start on our tomato relish. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the tomatoes and just kind of fine dice them. Cut them in little strips here. And what we're looking for is to yield about a half a cup. While we're doing this, keep an eye on your grits so you don't let them burn. Just giving them a stir every now and then. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit lower because they're getting close, and we still finishing working on the tomatoes. All right, our butter is ready. So what we do is drop the shrimp in there, let them just kind of slowly simmer. And again, this will make the shrimp super tender for you. You can use any size shrimp you want, whatever you can find at your local grocery store, depending on if you want smaller shrimp and do it as an entree, you can do that. Do it as an appetizer, works. We cook shrimp and use butter all the time in the South. Get our grits are slowly cooking, they're just about done. Shrimp is, you can tell when the shrimp is finished once it's kind of firm to touch, and it'll turn a little to the orange color. Let that go a little bit. We're gonna turn that up just one notch. And we'll take our shrimp here, our tomatoes here. And for the tomato relish, we're gonna do salt and pepper again to taste. I've got chopped garlic, about 2 cloves worth. Take half a teaspoon of celery salt, and I put a little bit of sugar and white balsamic in there, kind of give it a little brine for the relish. All right, grits are coming along. I'm gonna add our cheese to our grits. There's our goat cheese, and then Parmesan cheese. And again, salt and pepper to taste. Keep in mind how much salt and pepper you're adding into each of the ingredients, because you're gonna eat them all together and you don't wanna oversalt one of them. Our shrimp are coming along here. Let's see how they're starting to curl up and starting to get a little more firm. Those are just about finished. All right, while that's finishing up, we're gonna take 2 tablespoons of butter and add that just to finish the grits. We'll turn the heat off on our grits, and those are done. And the butter at the end is just gonna kind of finish it off and make it nice and creamy for you. And let's finish up the tomato relish. We'll just take 2 nice sized leaves of basil, and we'll chiffon on it. We'll roll it all together and just cut it in nice little strips. And then we'll give that a nice little mix around. Perfect. And we'll be right back with plating in just a minute. Welcome back to the show. Before we finish plating our dish, I forgot we had a couple more ingredients to add into the tomato relish. I've got a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil and also some fire roasted jalapenos. And you can either roast them right on a grill, or you can use, if you have a little flame torch at home, you usually want to just break the skin apart a little bit just to get a nice little roasting flavor. You'll get it nice and black. When we can get the torch to work. There we go. All right, once you get it nice and black, we're gonna run this underneath water real quick, just a little cold water, just to kind of break up the skin. And that'll help you easier to peel the skin off. It gives a nice roasted flavor, and that's gonna give a little kick to the tomato relish. You know, in the South, we like our stuff hot. And all we're gonna do is take the jalapeno and just give it a nice little cut in half. Take the skin and just peel the skin right on up, or the seeds right on out. And you're only gonna need about a half a jalapeno. You don't want to kill yourself with spice and overpower it. And just do a nice little fine dice like you did with the tomatoes. There we go. I knew it was missing something when I first tasted it, but it was hidden behind my corn. All right, now we're gonna get ready to plate. You got a nice little appetizer bowl. You can use any kind of plate you want. What we're gonna do is take our nice creamy grits and just ladle them right in the center of the bowl. Just give a nice little pile where everything I like to do for plating, I like to plate it nice and vertical. Give you lots of height and dimension to your dish. Make it look, everybody eats with their eyes, so you want to definitely see height. And for one plate, I would do 4 shrimp. Just kind of stick them in the grits, sticking up. Make sure you pull, don't get too much of the basil on from the butter. And you can see how the shrimp is starting to peel apart on the top. That's when you know they're done. Some of my favorite southern dishes, some shrimp and grits. And with all the butter, with the butter poached, you know Paula Deen would love that. Take your tomato relish and just kind of pile it right in the center. We're gonna finish it with a little sprig of basil for garnish. And there we go. Shrimp and grits with goat cheese and tomato relish. Welcome back to The Butler Did It. Our next course today is gonna be Ashiote marinated pork tenderloin with a chorizo hash, along with a wilted Swiss chard. Let's get started with our pork tenderloin because that's going to take a little bit longer to grill. We're going to turn our grill on real quick. And while that's getting nice and hot, we're going to start the marinade. We're going to take a mixing bowl here and we're going to make it, be careful when you're playing with Ashiote. Ashiote is a paste made from the annatto seed, which comes from the Ashiote or annatto tree. Originally it was used as a dye and body paint in religious rituals down in South America. It's got excellent flavor though. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a 1/4 cup of our Ashiote paste, and be careful, it is, like I said, it is a dye, so it will stain your clothes. We're gonna take four cloves of garlic. You can just throw it right in here. We're gonna blend it all together. And the way they make Ashiote paste is they take cumin, oregano, orange juice, and garlic. So we're just gonna enhance it with a little more orange juice. And what that's gonna do is help crystallize the outside of the pork, give you a nice crispy, smoky flavor. And once we've got everything in here, we've got our little trusted ninja here. Make sure that's airtight before you tip it upside down. Give it a little. And this is something you're going to want for the flavor of the outside of the pork, so you don't actually have to let it marinate for a long time. It can go right to coating it with it and right to the grill. You can let it sit for a day or so if you want to. You can also do it with beef tenderloin as well. This is what I do on our family vacations, and we just had it here down at the beach a couple weeks ago. And we're gonna take our pork tenderloin, and we're just gonna trim off some of the little fat on here. And again, you can use pork tenderloin, you can use pork loin, you can use beef tenderloin, goes really well with it. And those that you don't know if you've ever had Ashiote before, a lot of Mexican cuisine has it. Tacos El Pastor, it's one of the key ingredients in the sauce that they use for it. So You can find it at usually a local Spanish retailer. Once we get all that taken off, we're just going to give it a nice little mix around on the Ashiote, coat it nice and well. Put a little salt and pepper on top of the pork. And just put it right on the grill. I'll cook that to a medium rare medium. There's been no cases of trichinosis since 1954. So you can eat pork well done if you want it. You can eat it medium rare. I personally eat it like I eat my steak. So we'll let that go ahead and grill. That's going to take probably about 7 or 8 minutes. While we're doing that, we're going to start our chorizo and corn hash. And we're going to start with the induction stove again here on high. Turn that right on up to high. Get the pan nice and hot. And we've got our corn, our potatoes. Start with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And you can use corn any way you want it. I'm going to do it corn straight from the husk. Nothing beats fresh corn in the summertime, so. Just make sure you get all the little hairs off there. Just give them a nice little spin. And just take your corn and go straight down the side of it. It tends to get a little messy when you're doing it. And we're going to start cooking the potatoes first because that's going to take the longest to cook. They are Yukon Gold potatoes. You can use any type of red potatoes you want, anything you want. Just a matter of personal preference. There we go. So we'll take some of our Yukon Gold potatoes. Just give them a little swirl. And let those cook about 3/4 of the way before you add your corn, and about halfway before you add your chorizo. I've got raw chorizo here, so we'll let that cook as well inside there. And while we're doing that, I've already washed my Swiss chard. And you can use dandelion greens, broccoli rabe, all matter what you can find at your local store. You want to cut the stalk off of it because that's going to be bitter and very chewy. So what we do is cut right around the center stalk. And I want to keep the same flavor profile of the Swiss chard, just to do it with a little bit of salt and pepper and butter. You don't need much else to add to it because the dish has a lot of flavors. You don't want to overpower too much of the flavor. There we go. And we're just going to give it just a little rough chop. Set that aside for a minute. Check on our potatoes. Those are going to be close. And then we're going to start with our wilted greens. Again, cooking on high. Let that heat up. We're going to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. We'll go back and check on our pork tenderloin in just a second. And we're going to flip over the pork. You can see it's getting a little black on there. That's the orange sugars and the orange juice coming out. That's the best flavor for it. We'll let that go a little bit. I'm going to turn that grill down just a little bit. There we go. All right, back to our potatoes. Now that we're getting close here, I'm going to add the chorizo to it. About a half a cup. By the time the chorizo cooks, the potatoes should be finished. And for the Swiss chard, all we're gonna do is take our greens, nice hot pan, a little bit of salt and pepper. Give it just a little bit of a mix around. They can smell that chorizo. There we go. You don't want to overcook the Swiss chard, so we're just going to set it aside. Once you kind of wilt it just a little bit, remove it from heat and turn it off. Now we're going to take our corn, add about a cup of that, about equal parts on the corn, chorizo, and potatoes. Let that cook for another minute or so, and then we're going to go back to our pork tenderloin. Give it another little flip. Right now we're almost there, probably about 2-3 more minutes, and we'll go back over and check on our potatoes. All right, now that we've got our potatoes are almost cooked, just want to give them a little stab, make sure they're soft. Now we'll add a little salt and pepper to taste. About 2 tablespoons of garlic, about equivalent to 2 cloves. And that's going to finish cooking here in just a second. And we're going to go back and we're going to fire roast another one of these peppers. And do the same thing we did with the last course. Just give a nice little smoky flavor to add and bring out the flavors in the Ashiote paste. And we're just looking at trying to get it covered so we can peel the skin off, give it a nice little smoky flavor. Again, you can roast it on a grill if you want to. There we go. A little splash of cold water on it, help it to peel. And for this, you've got a lot of sweetness in the pork, so I'm gonna go ahead and use the whole jalapeno just to give that little extra spice to go with the sweetness. I'm just gonna fine dice it. Nice little brunoise. Give it a little swish around there. And we'll come back in just a few minutes and plate. Welcome back to the Butler Did It. And now we're gonna go ahead and plate our main course this evening. What I did, I let the pork tenderloin sit and rest for about 5 minutes, lets all the blood kind of settle. And we're just gonna cut it and slice it, just on a little bit of a bias. You can see the nice dark char from the outside. That is definitely gonna be the best part of the flavor. Take a little bit of our hash here. And again, I do like to pile up as high as I can for presentation. So we'll kind of put it in the one corner of our plate. Take our Ashiote, kind of pile it right in the front. Next, we'll take our Swiss chard, just kind of pile up and twist it a little bit to kind of get it all grouped together. Just like. And there we go. Ashiote marinated pork tenderloin over chorizo and green chili hash and Swiss chard sauteed. Welcome back to The Butler Did It. Here's our final and third course. We are doing a Grand Marnier berries over grilled pound cake with a mimosa sabayon and a smoked whipped cream. Let's get started with this. We're going to start with our pound cake first since that takes the longest. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And we're going to take 1 pound of butter. Cup of sugar. And a cup of flour. And we're going to mix that up a little bit. Pound cake is as simple as it sounds. Basically, I'm gonna add a little extra to it because I want to make it. We're gonna grill the pound cake, so what I want to do is we want to make it a little more dense, so it's a little more firm to cook. I'm gonna add 2 eggs. I'm gonna do 2 egg yolks. And a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're gonna mix it around, and we'll be right back. We're gonna mix the eggs and the vanilla extract in there. We're gonna let this sit for just a minute. I want it to get a little thicker, that way it'll set up. And we're gonna use any size pan you want. I'm just gonna use a little small cake pan. Spray it so it doesn't stick. And just fill your cake pan up. Now we're going to slide it in the oven and let that cook for about 15 minutes or so. While that's baking, we're going to go ahead and start our next ingredients. We'll start with our whipped cream. We're going to do 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream, 1/3 cup of sugar, and a little bit of liquid smoke. This is going to give you a little smoked whipped cream flavor. This is a nice little summer treat for you. It's got a little bit of taste of everything on there. A little fire from the grill, a little smoke. And you just want to whip this to be soft peaks. going to start a double boiler here to cook our mimosa savoion. And while this is starting to heat up, we just want to do a double boiler and slowly cook the eggs. We're going to start cooking the Grand Marnier berries. Do like a medium high heat. And what we'll do is we'll start with a pound of butter. Just 2 tablespoons. Let that melt. We'll add our berries to it. While we're doing that, we'll start cutting up our strawberries. You can use any kind of berries you want, whatever you got in season. And just cut our berries up. Cut a little bit of strawberries. I've got blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries. And we'll start our savoion. What we do is take 5 egg yolks. And a 1/3 cup of sugar. Get our butter going here. All right, next we're going to start with our mimosa savoion. Now what we're going to do is, in a double boiler, we're going to take our 5 egg yolks, turn the stove on to like a medium high. And you don't want to, the last thing you want to do is scramble the eggs. Take a 1/4 cup of sugar. And you just want to continuously stir this until it thickens up. And you'll see when it's done, because it'll do a little strand and it won't fall back in, and it'll strand will set right on top of it. Give that a second. We're going to turn on our berries here. And turn that to about a medium. Add 2 tablespoons of butter. And we've got our fresh berries. We've got some strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries. Just continuously stirring this. There we go. Now we're starting to get some heat. Once your butter starts to melt, you can add your berries. Strawberries, some raspberries. And you can do this with just about any fruit you want. We're doing Grand Marnier, so orange slices would be really nice inside there as well to bring out the orange flavor of the Grand Marnier. Once the savoion gets a little thicker, we're going to add our champagne and our orange juice. Give your berries just a quick little stir. There we go. Now we're almost getting there. The savoion sauce, the egg yolk should become about 3 times the volume of where you started. That's when you know you're starting to get a little close. For the berries, we're going to add our Grand Marnier. Always save yourself just a little sip for the end. All right, here we go. Not quite yet. You'll have a ribbon that'll stand right on top of it once it's ready. Now we're going to finish it with just a little bit of butter with your berries. And those are good to go. You've got a little bit of sauce in there as well. You can see how light and airy it's becoming. It's almost like a creme anglaise. Your ribbon should stand for just a couple seconds, not quite yet. The most important thing is make sure you do not let your eggs scramble. You want to keep it nice and smooth and creamy. And now they're just about there. Turn your heat off. And the residual steam in there should finish it off. There we go. Next, remove it from the heat. And you want to add a little bit of orange juice. And just do it slowly because you don't want to break the mixture. You just want it to get a little bit of the orange flavor to bring in the flavor of the Grand Marnier. And we're going to do just a little bit of champagne. And again, just like the orange juice, you want to just slowly add it in there. And now we've got our pound cake. We're going to turn our grill on real quick. Put all your ingredients aside real quick. And you'll see how dense the pound cake came out because you want it to be nice and thick so you can throw it on the grill. And all we're going to do is get a nice little grill marks on it. And now we let our pound cake grill on each side for 30 seconds. We're ready for plating. So here we go. We're going to take our pound cake and just kind of set it up. Like I said, you know, I love my vertical presentation, so we're going to go ahead and set it up right in the center of the plate. We're going to take our berry mix. And just kind of scoop our berries right over top of it. Oh. Make sure you get some of the Grand Marnier sauce right all over it. This definitely tastes like an outdoor backyard cookout. Next, we're going to take our Savoyan sauce. Just drizzle it right over the top. Something a little different that I like to do with my Savoyan is I like to torch it and give it a, again, we're going for all those flavors of outdoor. Gives a little color, just like a creme brulee. And lastly, we're going to take our smoked whipped cream and just a dollop right on top. And there we go. And we have grilled pound cake with Grand Marnier berries and mimosa Savoyan. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for watching The Butler Did It. I enjoyed cooking this 3-course meal for you. If you guys enjoyed it as well, stay tuned for my next episode. We're gonna do a braised duck dish. You can find me at Butler's Unique Catering on Facebook. Message me if you have any questions, any recipes you're looking for. I can help you guys out. Thank you.